Hi, I'm Mike Talks from New Zealand. Welcome to Better Unit Testing. The sessions involved in this video are part of a workshop that I've run in this company a couple of times to train testers. They're based on my previous life where I used to work creating and testing software for aircraft applications. So let's take a look, shall we? So today we're going to look at a fictional aircraft that I've called the Panther. Now, when you get a brand new aircraft, they run a whole series of operational flight trials. This is basically them running the aircraft at different heights, different speeds, and with different weights and drags on it to work out how much fuel they use. And generally what happens is you find there's a trend. The higher you go with the aircraft, the less fuel you use. The air's thinner there, so it makes sense. Secondly, the heavier the aircraft is, not surprisingly, the more fuel you use. And thirdly, obviously, the faster you go, the more fuel you use. Now, all this data is collected into what's called an operational flight data, or an operational data manual is what I'm most used to using. As you can see from here, it's different. If given this speed and this weight and this altitude, it should use so much kilograms per minute of fuel. Now, I've created a very simplified version of this as a code base, which is available from GitHub, and the link will be collected right at the end. And this is basically what you're going to see explored and tested. Now, in this code, what you have to do is you have your basic aircraft and you select some equipment you want to put onto it. You select some fuel that you want to put on, and that determines the weight. And then you basically give it an altitude, how far it wants the aircraft supposed to travel, and it works out the fuel calculation. It keeps track of the weight as you go along in the flight. So quite complicated stuff. Now, the background to this that I use for my workshop is, we've had a previous developer. He spent about a couple of months on this. He's developed quite a reasonable code base. There are tests, and the tests do pass. But he's kind of won the lottery at the weekend and he's decided just to walk away from the company. Now, obviously, like many projects, this is all a little bit behind schedule. And management are really keen to find out whether the code is good or not, and if it's not good, how can it be fixed? Now is a great time to introduce the two heroes of this story. Single and Archnet are two of the automators in my team, and they're going to be role-playing, going through the code base, adding some tests, discovering what the code does, and trying to fix some things as they go along. They're going to lead two sessions. The first session is going to look at part of the system that uploads a data file, and the second part is going to be just looking at how the aircraft handles loading up of air-to-air missiles and managing the weight from that. All told, from this workshop, there's probably enough to keep you busy for about a day exploring, adding tests and fixing things. But within this webinar, we just really want to focus on a couple of sections that really help to illustrate how to create some great unit tests. So here we go.
Okay, I've got the spec here, and let's look at the code now.
Here's a file we've been given, and that matches the field right data. As you can see, each line is concluding the 4 data. And there we have a class, including the constructor, that read each line at a time and would set an invalid flag if there's a problem. And here we have one valid test and one invalid test.
Well, I really don't think these test names are any, they're kind of telling me what it is about and what it is doing, or even the error messages. So what do you think about it, Single?
Well, if you look at the few data file, seems you should only enter the 4 numbers each
true.
line. So I guess that's the reason why you're being rejected.
Okay, so maybe what we can do is let's change the test name for both valid and invalid.
What do you think of the reject 5 data?
Maybe we can go for something like reject 5 numerical fuel data.
Oh, yeah, why not?
Yep,
Let's
cool.
try.
Yeah. Maybe data. Yeah, cool. So, and how about for the valid data? Do you have a name that you can suggest? Single?
We can say except for num data.
Yeah, right. That goes well. Cool. Yeah, so the test names now look better.
Yeah,
It's
I
quite
agree.
understandable, yeah. And single, I think it's better if we change the error messages in the assertion.
Yeah.
The assert true and assert false.
Yeah.
So probably for the assert true, why not
Yeah,
we go
what you
with
want?
valid 4-digit data accepted?
Yeah, that
Maybe.
sounds cool.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yep. Okay.
How about the
For
invalid
the
one?
false. Okay, maybe reject 5-digit data entries or something.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. It's more clear.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's
do you
just
think?
execute. Yeah. I think the tests so far look very shallow. I think we have quite a lot of other ideas to come up
Definitely.
with here. So let's look at the acceptance scenarios,
Yeah.
maybe? Yeah.
Positive scenario, you mean?
Yeah,
Cool.
true. And what I can think is about 4 digits, maybe a lower number.
Yeah, and I thinking maybe integer number.
Yeah,
and we
integer,
can-
yeah.
integer number, and we can put also like a
High number.
High number.
Yeah.
That's for positive. For
Yeah, we
the
accept it.
negative, negative tests. Yeah, we definitely can add some negative tests.
Yeah.
And as I thinking maybe we put 5 entries, let's say,
Yeah.
and we put minus values and some special characters.
Oh, yeah, true. And we can have some missing values.
Yeah.
Yeah, just enter lesser values. And then maybe a 3-digit.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe text.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sky's the limit for these tests.
Yeah. Let's add it.
Yeah. Cool.
Hey, let's create some more tests.
Sure.
Yeah. So I want to do some negative tests, and let's say how about 5 entries? Enter 5 entries. Yeah, like and also some special characters like text and a minus value. Let's put and special characters. And
Okay.
what do you think? It's gonna be good.
Do you want to execute once and see? Yep, maybe you can just change.
Yeah.
All right, because the values are quite simple here. Because your test passed, it all looks good. But what happens if your test fails? So I really think maybe having breaking down the test once. So that, when a test fails, why exactly it is failing and where it is failing.
You mean each
Yeah.
test only tests one thing?
Yeah, true. So if you have like multiple data here with different values and
Yes.
something goes wrong and your test
Right.
fails.
We don't know which
Exactly. So
data's got a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
sure.
think that's a good idea. Let's
Alright.
separate them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, Archana, let's start a test already passed and let's break the rule each time.
All right. Sure. We can do that.
So what do you think? Yeah, first we need to copy that. And paste here. What do you think we start with? Let's enter some text
Oh yeah, sure.
instead of a
Okay,
number.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, just put some text.
And maybe change the name.
Reject. Yeah. Good point. Text in file. First field.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's run it and yeah. Also, we need to change the assertion.
The error message as well.
Yeah. So let's say reject text in line. What do you think? Cool. Okay, let's run it. It's cool.
Cool.
Yeah. And then what do you think? Let's try the test with special characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. And with reject special character in first field. Also, we need to change the assert. Reject special characters.
Assert false. Yeah.
This should be assert false. You're right. Let's run it. Cool, it's passed. And finally, how about let's try some negative values.
Yeah,
let's
sure.
enter negative values. So maybe we just reject negative values. First field. Let's just put this minus 32.7 and the third false, but yeah. Number, and it's just assert false. I think well, it's false because we haven't put
true.
change
Oh,
the
you
assert
want to change
false.
to assert false.
Assert false. Let's run again. It's pass.
Yeah, nice. Alright, single, maybe do you want to add these negative values in the second field, third and fourth?
Oh yes.
Yeah, because
sure.
we're just adding it in the first field.
Yep.
Yeah.
First we need to copy, and second field, let's test. So
And remove it from the first,
okay, yeah. So let's try the negative value in the second field, and second field.
Third field.
Third field.
Yeah.
Move the first.
Second, yeah.
Fourth field.
Yeah. Yep.
This all pass.
Yeah, looks good. And we can repeat the same thing for special characters and text in the second, third, fourth fields.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Alright, single. Shall we just try and do write some tests for acceptance criteria?
you mean positive test?
Yeah, for positive
cool.
tests. Why not try out integers?
Oh yes, why not?
Yeah, cool.
So you mean change each entries to the integer?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah, let's just copy this positive tests and paste here. So we say accept number data.
Yeah, integers.
Integer number data. Yeah, you're right. Just delete them. Delete that. Let's say 7. What do you think? Let's go. And accept true is integer number be accepted or valid integer.
Yeah, integer.
Let's run. Let's pass.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Nice. Yeah. Single, while
Yes.
you were looking at the fuel rate data test, I was
Okay.
looking at the aircraft management one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at first I wondered where you got these tests from.
These tests, I think, are they from our document?
Yeah, looks like it is from a document. True, but if you actually look at the worked example,
Okay.
it's quite interesting test, because it has equipment, fuel, and also it simulates a couple of flights.
Do many
If you just
things.
see the cruise and the
Right.
climb to 20,000 feet and stuff, and also it makes sure that the right values are being used.
Yes.
And also, it also makes sure that the code corrects the aircraft weight.
It's quite
as you see,
complicated.
yeah,
Wow,
true.
okay.
And as you see, the certain bombs are released.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I think there's a lot more. Too much is in one test.
Makes sense, yes.
Yeah, true. Anyways, I'm tempted to leave it as is for now.
Okay.
But just like before,
Yep.
I guess we need a lot more smaller tests.
Yes.
With just one single objective.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, true.
I think that makes,
Yeah.
it's just more easy to identify.
And it's quite
yeah.
helpful as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
Single, I also noticed that we are using multiple classes like calculate fuel usage, manage weight, and aircraft management.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the class calculate fuel usage, it actually uses our data table.
Right.
So this works out how much fuel the aircraft is actually using given the weight, height, and speed.
Okay.
Yeah, and manage weight class, it actually works out on the weight of the aircraft according to the equipment and the fuel that
Right.
it's being used. Yeah, it handles adding, removing equipment, use of fuel. Yep. And aircraft management class. Well, this is basically a container class which has objects of both the previous classes, the calculate usage and manage weight.
It's like their parent class.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the problem is that all these tests added so far are just using one class, that is
Right,
aircraft
I
management.
see.
Yeah. And we really need to avoid this by trying to test in detail through a class that's a container.
Right.
Yeah, and we want to add more tests directly to the manage way to calculate fuel usage.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Cool. I made a quick start on manage weight test.
Yep.
Where there are these functions to add air-to-air missiles.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and this test actually checks if I can add a missile successfully. Let me just try run it.
Brilliant.
Yep, it is successful.
Cool. So, I'm thinking, shall we add a new check to check if the aircraft's weight increased because you add a new missile, right? So it should, I think, add to 150 kgs by single missile.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's add a check for that. Yeah. Aircraft. Oh. 150 kg weight, right? Yeah. Now so true. $150. Here.
That's be fine.
Yeah.
And shall we run it?
Yep.
Sweet. That's
Thanks. Passes, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Achana, I think we should use a better assertion than assert true, because I think assert true is only good for Boolean, but when it's come to number, assert equal is much better.
Alright, then I'll use assert equal.
Cool.
Yeah, okay, this is deprecated because I guess I need to put a tolerance.
Okay.
The double number. Yeah, this looks good. Let me just run it.
Yep. Brilliant.
Nice. Alright, so let's create a test which adds maximum number of missiles, like pushing it to its limits.
Oh, okay. So according to the document, it's 8 missiles seems the maximum number that you can add.
Okay, so let's create the test with 8 missiles.
Sweet.
Eight missiles, yeah.
So 8 times
Yeah.
150.
8 into, yeah.
That's 1,100.
Yeah, but
200.
it's 8 into. I'll
yeah.
just put this here. Alright, let
Can
me
we
just run it,
run?
yeah.
It's pass. Nice.
Yeah, nice.
So Archana, I guess if we have a test to add 9 missiles, it should be rejected. What do you think?
Yeah, good one. Good idea. I'll just try that. Reject 9 missile. Yep. 9. And I'll add 9, yeah. Let's run it. That's bad. That's failed. Yeah, that's not right.
Hey Archana, so let's treat them as test-driven design. Let's go back to the code and let's try to fix them. And we know it's good when the test pass. What do you think?
Alright, yeah. Yep, here is the code. And oh my god, looks like it always returns true.
I guess that's the reason.
Yeah.
So now let's add a count of the number of the missiles and put the maximum missile number as a constant. What do you think?
Okay. Yeah, maybe I need to add static and final. So I'll just start it later. And static final.
Maximum.
What's the 8? Yeah.
Yep. 6, 8.
Okay, and here I'll add a check. So if the number of missiles and the number is greater than maximum, then it should return false. So
That makes sense.
Number 8 missiles. I just got an error here.
8. Yes.
Oh yeah.
That makes sense. And I think instead of add 9 missile,
just a second number is
yeah.
greater than
maximum.
max missiles. Yeah, max 8 missiles. Should return false. Yep.
Right. That makes much more sense.
Okay.
Let's wait.
Returns true. Yeah. Less equals to none. Yep. Yep. Let me just run it.
Yeah. Oh, it's passed.
Oh, that's nice. Single, I think we are not done here. We've done a good progress. There's a lot more to do.
Yeah,
What do you think? Shall we just go get a coffee?
why not?
Sure.
That was a great couple of sessions. Now let's take a bit of a step back and summarize some of the key points that came out from them. Now, first of all, you're much better having a lot of small tests than a few really giant tests. So here's the first example, of course, is the worked example that was pointed out in the sessions. And as you can see, there's a lot of assertions going on, a lot of things being tested. In an ideal world, you'd probably want to break this into a whole series of much smaller tests, more discrete tests, like we've done in the session. Secondly, it's really important that those tests have useful names and error messages. So here is an example. I've got a whole series of tests in here, and I'm just going to hit run. And as you can see down there, test 1, 2, 3 passes, test 4, 5 don't, test 6 passes. That doesn't really tell me much at all. It's not very helpful. And in fact, if you look at the failure trace here, it says the text that's all the helpful text was expected to be true. So yes, when your tests run and it's all green ticks, you tend to just ignore it. When something's a cross by it and it fails, it's useful to know what that thing is that's testing. Meaningful names can be really helpful to that, incredibly helpful to that. When you compare that with the fuel data rate tests, for instance, when you run it through, much clearer what's going on and what's being done. Thirdly, it's important to use appropriate assertions. Okay, let's create an example of that. So I'm going to create a brand new test. As you can imagine, they've done the air-to-air missile test to death. So let's do an add single dumb bomb. And let's call it manage weight. This aircraft equals new manage weight. Ooh, what shall we do? Oh, let's just steal. Where's my cursor? Steal that because that's a good check to put in. So we'll check the weight to start with, and we'll do an assert true that when we add a dumb bomb, we can add a dumb bomb. Now in this case, an assert true is brilliant because of course we're going to call this aircraft add dumb bomb, and we only expect that to return a true or false. So assert true is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But let's just do an assert true that the weight went up 500 kilograms. So in there we want this aircraft get all up weight is now equivalent to the aircraft pre-weight plus 500. Look at that. And let's just trying to find my cursor. There we go. Let's just run that test. And it fails. And all it tells me is error, weight went up at 500 kilograms. Obviously it didn't seem to like that. Doesn't really give me much information. Let's change it to an assert equals. And change that obviously to that. And include the threshold of just 0.1. That all looks much better. Let's run it. Now it still fails because what I've done is I've assumed the weight of the dumb bomb was 500 kilograms. What it actually is 600. As you can see there, it's gone up 600, not 500. So that's me. I've made a dumb mistake. We all do it. But if I change that to 600, but this is actually giving me information to tell me why things have gone wrong, which is much more helpful. So, okay, so let's just give that that new test a run now that we've fixed that. So run as JUnit tests. Ta-da! It all works fine. So we're really, really happy at that. Fourthly, and to me one of the most important points, make sure you pair to get the best test ideas. All too often test automation can be seen as something that's done kind of separately to the delivery. You develop some code, you do some testing manually, but the automation eventually catches up. As the sessions show, two people talking about what makes good automation, what's actual useful tests, and challenging each other can often create a better suite. It means that the testing that involves is both relevant and relevant to the testers, but also efficiently created from developers. So that's really, really important, and it's something I've learned a lot the last couple of years. Fifthly, test as close as possible. So this was a point that Archana was making previously. A lot of the tests were here in the aircraft management layer. And say, for instance, we want to calculate, there's that whole table of instances, and we want to have quite a few tests for that to calculate the fuel usage. Well, that's all in this object here. Trying to test from this layer creates complexity because it's also basically this is linking calculate fuel usage to the managed weight that's tracking the weight pieces. So when we looked at the worked example, there's a test here that basically where the aircraft's going to be at 14,600 kilograms and then do this travel for 400 knots for 75 nautical miles, and that will use like 182.25 kilograms doing so. But in order to do that test, you have to do all this. You have to add all these missiles. You have to add the dumb bombs, external fuel tanks, this much fuel. You need to climb, and by climbing, it will change your weight slightly because you'll use fuel to get up there, and then it can finally do that test. It's quite complicated. There is a lot that's being tested there. It's basically keeping track of if you do this and you do this, your weight of the aircraft will change, and does the weight change as you expect it to? And that's really the point of this whole test, but it's not been made very clear. Sixthly, automation is a safety net. Now, you might know that I helped as a reviewer on Janet Gregory and Lisa Crispin's book, More Agile Testing. Shameless plug there. And during one of the chapters on automation, Lisa Crispin made quite a bold statement that your automation tests were more important than the code. And it was something I didn't really agree with. In fact, I quite strongly opposed it from Lisa. But she explained it like this. if you look at the Agile Manifesto, it does mention that working software is more important than comprehensive documentation. From her point of view, the test automation is what helps us to ensure that what we're building is working software. Now, I didn't like this. I said, surely well-developed, well-thought-out code is more important. But code can change. So here is a cunning and fiendish example I've been thinking about ever since that conversation. And it kind of proves her right. So I've added a whole extra series of managed tests, particularly around air-to-air. And, and those tests tests will remain. Now, this code has been reasonably well written. But unless you haven't guessed, I tend to have a knack of trying to learn by breaking things. It's a tester thing. So I'm going to come along and I am going to... see that? Number of air-to-air missile equals number of air-to-air missiles plus num. And I'm going to improve that. I'm going to improve that, and, as a developer, I'm just going to make a small change. And what I'm really going to mean to do here is plus equals, which is kind of C nomenclature and used, all the time. It just means take this number and add num onto the original. But somebody's distracting me. Someone's distracting me, and I mean to do that, but I put that instead. Got the two the wrong way around. No big deal, surely. Well, actually, it is, because instead of adding it, it's just going to reset it. If I go to my automation and I run them, you can see that, all of a sudden there is one test in particular that's not working. And if I run this through a debugger, I will eventually work out that, yes, this is the line that went wrong, and I should really have done like that. And what this means is if you bungle something, you put something in that you didn't mean, the network of tests, in this case unit tests, will pick that up. They'll pick up change quite aggressively. There, I wasn't changing code. I wasn't really changing code. I was just trying to improve it, trying to make it look a little bit better, stylish. And if my automation was doing the right job, which it was, it will pick it up. And so that automation creates a safety net for you can do things. You can get distracted, because that's human nature. We all get distracted. We'll do whoopsies. A great way of doing whoopsies in code is to try and do it in front of a room full of people. I guarantee you'll do the odd really dumb thing. In actual fact, this is an example that happened in a workshop, because things happen when you're trying to do things in front of people on a giant screen. And finally, don't use placeholders in your code. So this is a story that I've heard quite a few times, and it actually came up at a workshop that I was running recently. It's become a kind of folklore of automation, but it's really good to point out. If you come here and I'm going along and I'm going to just make a few pet placeholders. I haven't got time to automate all this. I've got to add single dumb bomb up there. Let's say add max dumb bomb. I'm just going to leave this blank now because I haven't got time. Do later. Okay, cool. And I'll another test, something like public void reject too many bombs. Cool. Again, someone will pick this up. Do later. Let's see, tests public. I guess we should reject drop more than carry. What a great idea for a test. Make sure that if you've got 4 bombs, you can't drop 5. That makes sense. Yeah, they're all great tests. What brilliant. Someone will do them later. Problem is, of course, what happens is you hit run, and wouldn't you look at that reject too many bombs, reject too many bombs, reject too many bombs, right there. If you don't put anything in, it assumes it's going to pass. Tries to run it and it passes. And believe me, what happens is you don't look through the code. You build this huge amount of tests and you don't tend to look. What you tend to do is you run, and you only really bother if one of these turns into a cross. That's the only time that you tend to look there. It's a sad truth. We only tend to look. Something's broken. I suppose I ought to have a look at it. As long as it keeps ticking, we assume, oh, that's covered. So it can be really, really, really dangerous. It's also a good point for once in a while. It's well worth, if you ever get any free time, just take a bit of an idle look through some of your automation and see what it's actually doing. You might be quite unpleasantly shocked.
If you're interested in exploring this more, download the code from GitHub and rewatch the video, adding elements and creating new one.
For now, that's all from us. Thanks for watching.